everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough and a brand new debut game on the channel. After our adventure in Star Realms last week, we're staying in space this week as we debut a new game on the channel as we play Astro Knights by Indie Boards and Cards. From what I've heard, well, let's talk a little bit about the premise of this game first, before I talk about what I've heard about it. We're playing it as a couple of knights defending one of our home worlds from whatever nemesis we're taking on. What I've heard about this game is it's Aeon's End in space. So I'm probably going to start approaching it like that. And of course, I'm still very much learning this game. This is my very first time ever playing this game, so bear with me if I make any kind of mistakes on this one. But our goal is to defend, like I said, our goal is to defend whatever home world we're defending today. So with that, let's go ahead and meet our characters, and we'll start off with player one. Our first knight that we're playing as today is Nazma. As you can guess by the player number, we are going to have some very familiar components to this. 10 health, every character starts with 0 power, and 1 slot. The way I'm thinking of this is I'm basically looking at this like Aeon's End in space. So I'm thinking of the slots as basically like your breaches that you'd have in Aeon's End, where you can use those to prepare your spells. In this case, it's weapons that we're actually going to be looking at. Each character, of course, comes with a special ability. Hers is to activate during your main phase. Any ally draws 3 cards. Then they may destroy a card in hand. Once again, when anything says ally, that's talking about the other player. So let's take a little bit of a look at her backstory. Name Nazma Garamana. Designation Naturalist. Planet of origin Yalong. Specialty Support and Flexibility. Comments: Nazma may just be the strangest person I've ever met, but there's no question that her kind and compassionate heart will make her an ideal member of the Astro Knights. Anyone who lives on the dangerous jungle planet of Yalong is forced to develop a healthy respect for nature, but very few choose to embrace it as Nazma does. I nearly died venturing into the myconoid forests where she'd secluded herself, but that dangerous forest was exactly what she wanted to protect. Nobody loves the world more than Nazma, and that's why she will be our universe's staunchest defender. We'll see the cards in her hand in action as we go through this game, and I'll reset everything back to its starting values. There we are. And now let's go meet her partner in trying to defeat our adversary today. I did forget to mention that Nazma's special ability takes 4 power to activate. I was about to say charges, but that's the parallel I'm drawing from Aeon's End. Christina is our second player today. Also starts with 10 health, 4 slots, and her special ability takes 5 power to activate. Activate during your main phase. Any ally gains the top weapon from any supply deck and places it on top of their deck. So we'll take a look at her personnel file. Name Christina Nagara, or designation Engineer, Planet of Origin Earth, Specialty Late Damage and Energy. Comments: When I finished my star cores, the first planet I went to was Karis. I knew a planet this advanced would have produced a warrior with a strong enough spirit to fight back against the dangers of the universe, but I did not expect to find that spirit in a young Earthian refugee. Her workshop was a haven for anyone who needed a helping hand. Even before I made her into my very first Astro Knight, Christina has always been a light in the darkness. With my star core, I know she will be a beacon of hope for the entirety of the universe. Well, hopefully she will be. We'll reset everything there. She will be on player 2, and I'll explain what those mean, but if you're drawing parallels from Aeon's End already, you can probably guess where that's going. So with that, let's meet the homeworld that we're defending today. Admittedly, one of the things I didn't like about Aeon's End that I find interesting here is that there are several different homeworlds that you can defend, whereas in Aeon's End you're defending Gravehold, which is basically a static town that does nothing. Now we're defending different homeworlds. In this case, we're defending Karis as it's our recommendation for our first game. When the homeworld powers up and there are cards that will let us do that, we can't spend anything to explicitly say, yeah, we have to power up the planet, power up the homeworld. We activate during any player's main phase. Oh, and I forgot to go through Christina's ability. We'll do that in a second. Deal 4 damage, then deal 2 damage. Coming back over to Christina. Her special ability, activate during your main phase. Any player gains the top weapon from any supply deck and places it on top of their deck. Decks will be set up a little bit differently in this game for the market, but I'll explain more about that when we get over to the market. Kara starts off with 28 health, and I think we're going over to the market next. Rather than having our essentially static market that we've got in Aeon's End of our 9 cards, we've got 6 decks that are broken up into different types of cards and costs they have. So let's look at our first deck. I don't remember what exact order these were in, so let's find out. We've got a Heliosphere for 3 energy. Either gain 2 energy when you play it, or you may destroy this card to gain a weapon that costs 5 energy or less. Energy being ether, so that's the tech that costs 3 or less. Next card up. Cosmic Particulate, which costs 4. It's another fuel. Gain 2 energy, and any player powers up. So power up seems to be akin to buying charges. It seems to be akin to spending ether to gain charges in Aeon's End. Again, you're probably going to hear me drawing a lot of parallels with Aeon's End, but I think that's how I'm going to help. I think that's really going to help me get the grasp for this game. Next up we have Oracle Hub, a tech that costs 4. I believe this is all tech. The homeworld powers up, and any player may destroy a card in hand. So this is what I was alluding to earlier about the homeworld powering up. We can't spend energy to do that. The card has to say that the homeworld powers up. Next card we've got is a Repulsor for 3 energy. Attack, deal 2 damage, and the homeworld gains 1 health. Next up, Gravhammer for 5. Attack, deal 4 damage. You may return a weapon card from your discard pile to your hand. It's a weapon that costs 5. And the Echo Ray for 8. Attack, deal 7 damage, however you choose between the boss and any number of minions. Okay, we'll see what happens here. So let's move over and meet our enemy for tonight. For our first boss, the rulebook suggests taking on Furion for your first adversary. We've got the artillery track here. We're playing on normal difficulty tonight. We're not going to do anything crazy. And we've got level 1. So that's another potentially interesting thing from Aeon's End, where in Aeon's End you've got the deck that scales in difficulty. So you start off at level 1, then you go through level 2, and eventually level 3. It's a similar mechanic in Astro Knights, where instead of losing the game when you run out of the deck, the boss actually levels up. We'll come back to that a little bit later. For now, we do have an artillery track that starts off at 0, and special rules to note with Furion. At the end of the boss turn, if the artillery track is at 3 or higher, which is notated up here for us, perform the following. Draw and resolve the top card of the artillery deck, which is right here. Then place it in the artillery discard pile. Decrease the artillery track by 3. Repeat until the artillery track is at less than 3. The artillery track can't increase past 9. When a player is exhausted, increase the artillery track by 3. Hopefully we won't find out about exhaustion in this game. Let's flip it over, see if there's anything special here. Like a scouting report. Furion is one of the most dangerous collections of sentient star stuff this side of Alpha Centauri. When the nebula core at the center of Furion began to collapse in on itself, the creature began to rampage. It used its intense gravitational pull to steal some of the deadliest artillery it could find across the galaxy. The longer this fight goes on, the faster those weapons are going to charge, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of them when they do. Hit fast and hit hard, and keep Furion and his bloodthirsty followers from being too big to handle. 60 health, which I've got set on a dial just off shot. But we're all set there, so let's move back up top and check the shot there. I think everything looks good over here. I've got a set of reference cards up here that I'm going to use to help me learn this game. Like I said, this is my very first time playing this game. I've been interested in it. I just had never picked it up until recently. So we're going to give it a go tonight. And since we're all set, let's get into this game. If you haven't guessed by the player 1 and 2, you might even be able to see it up here in shot, but we do have a turn order deck for this game as well. Given that this is made by the same people who made Aeon's End, I'm not all that surprised. So it's built in a similar way, where you've got 2 player 1, 2 player 2, and 2 boss turns in here. The deck will be built slightly differently for each player count. So we'll give this a shuffle. And here will be our first card from the turn order deck. We will find player 2. So let's move down to Christina. Okay, so the way a player turn works is you'd have your attack phase, think your casting phase from Aeon's End, where you'd be able to attack with any of your equipped weapons in any order. And after each one resolves, discard it. You can only have as many weapons equipped as you have slots. But since we don't have any, we're going to blow through that and go into the main phase, where we can play a fuel or a tech, equip a weapon, gain a card from a supply deck by paying its cost, overcharge a tech by paying its cost, resolving its effect, and placing it on the bottom of its supply deck. Pay 3 energy to gain a slot, 2 to power up, activate your ability if you're fully powered up, or activate the homeworld's ability if we're fully powered up. So, I'm going to equip a blaster to deal 1 damage, or for dealing 1 damage on our next attack phase. Then I've got 3 power cores, and an Assalium, which I can gain 1 energy and attack with any player's weapon. I think we're going to grab the Cosmic Particulate for 4. I'll put that in our discard pile, and then replacing that in the supply pile is going to be a Mag Field for 4. Gain 2 energy, and the next time you gain a weapon this turn, you may place it on top of any ally's deck. Ooh. So the next time we gain a weapon, you may. Alright, so we'll move all that to the discard pile. Just like in Aeon's End, you won't be shuffling your deck. We'll come back to that, most likely on the second turn of this phase. Okay. Next up we'll find a boss turn, so let's move up to Furion. Let me just see, I'm just going to check something here real quick. So the boss hasn't leveled up yet, but I'm checking this for testing purposes just to check how the shot's going to look. Okay, I can probably work with that. What I was doing was checking out the placement of the boss cards. So for a boss turn, we'd resolve any activates for the level token if there is one. Then for any minion in play from newest to oldest, just like we did in Aeon's End. I believe the word was persistent in Aeon's End, but don't quote me on that. Then we draw a card and resolve it. Next up, first up from Furion's deck, we'll find a Titan Land Rover. Delightful. It's a minion with 4 HP. When Titan Land Rover is defeated, destroy it. Activate, any player suffers 2 damage. So that thing needs to go pronto, and I'm going to get a die for its health rather than using the heart tokens. So that's it for Furion's turn. Next up on the turn order deck, we'll find player 2. So let's move back down to Christina. First up, we have the attack phase. So now we can attack with any of our weapons. We've only got the 1 blaster, which will hit the Titan Land Rover with that to bring it down to 3. And then looking at her hand, we're going to equip another blaster, and we've got 4 power cores to spend. So I think with that, I'm going to pick up let's grab a... Let's actually hold a power core in hand. I'll buy a slot for 3, and I believe I can discard cards that I don't want to play, right? During the draw phase? At least all of... Then you may discard any cards still in your hand. Okay. So these go away. I'm going to discard the power core as well. And then, as I mentioned, we're just going to flip the discard pile to form a new draw pile. Okay. So that's it for Christina. Similar, we'll be able to use information from the status on the turn order deck to determine how players go. So let's see what we find in the turn order deck. We find player 1. So let's move over to Nazma. Nazma is going to equip her Molecular Edge, which will let her attack to deal 1 damage and gain a weapon. The blaster is probably going to go to waste. And then we've got, well, maybe it won't go to waste, actually, because we've got 3 to buy with, which I think is going to give her a slot. And then I will prepare the blaster. I'll equip the blaster, since I want to be able to take out this Titan Land Rover as fast as I can. Next card up in the turn order deck is player 1. So good thing we're right here with Nazma, which I will point the Molecular Edge of the Titan Land Rover to hit it for another 1. Then the blaster will hit it as well, down to 1. And she's got... Okay, so let's do it this way. The Molecular Edge is going to go to her discard pile first, but I'm going to leave it in play just so I remember I've got 1 energy. I'll prepare a blaster, and I've got 4 more energy for a total of 5, which I think is going to be... I think we're going to pick up a Grav Hammer with that to deal 4 damage, and you may return a weapon from your discard pile to your hand. And then replacing that in the weapon pile is another Grav Hammer. Okay, so we'll move everything to the discard pile like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then our next card, just to remove any suspense, is a boss turn. So let's move up to Furion. First things first, the Titan Land Rover activates. Any player suffers 2 damage. I think we'll have Nazma eat that for this first go-around. And then coming out of the Furion's deck, we'll find Titan Barrage. It's a strike. The player with the most slots suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand, and increase the artillery track by 1. That could be both of us, so either one can discard. Who's going to discard, though? I think discarding will be... Christina has 6 right now, which doesn't let her do anything, so she'll discard a Power Core, whereas she's got plenty with 5. So now let's move back up top to see how the board state's changed. Not much has changed really right now. Both Nazma and Christina now have second slots. Each one has a blaster prepared. Nazma is down to 8 health though, and we haven't been able to do anything in terms of powering up Karis yet. Moving up to Furion, we see that he's got the Titan Land Rover out, but it's got 1 hit point left. We're going to wipe that thing out on our next turn through the turn order deck, which will give a shuffle here. We need to start doing some damage to Furion, though. First up in the turn order deck, we'll find a boss turn. That's not what I wanted to see, so let's move up to Furion. This time we're going to have Christina take the bullet, take the 2 damage from the Titan Land Rover, bringing her down to 8. And then flipping over the next card from Furion's deck, we'll find Unrelenting Onslaught. It's a strike. The homeworld suffers 3 damage and increase the artillery track by 1. So the artillery track should actually be at 2 right now. And then Karis will take 3 damage to go down to 25. And then that's it for Furion's turn. Next card up will be player 1. So let's move down to Nazma. First order of business, this Titan Land Rover needs to go away, like now. So we'll take him out and we'll destroy him. I'll put the Titan Land Rover off to the side. Then I'll prepare the Grav Hammer, and I've got 4 energy to buy with. which I think will be... I think it'll be the repulsor. And then replacing that will be a phase shield for 3. Attack, deal 2 damage, and the homeworld powers up. And then, since I only needed 3 energy, the power core can go away. And then we'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I don't completely hate that. And then next up in the turn order deck, we will find player 2. So let's move over to Christina. We'll use a blaster to do our first damage to Furion to bring him down to 59. We still have a long way to go, of course. Let's see, then, right. So now we gain... We have a total of 5 ether. We have a total of 5, I just called it ether, energy. Any player powers up, which I'm going to have... I'm going to have Christina power up, since that says any player powers up. And you may attack with any player's weapon, which I'm going to have her attack with the... am I going to have her attack with the grav hammer? I think I am, actually. Actually, that's a... You may attack with any player's weapon. So that would let her make the decisions around that weapon, and all she's got right now is a blaster. So... Actually, you know what? You may attack with any player's weapon. You know what? That actually might be fine now that I think about it, because we can attack with the... Actually, no. The way we have to do this, if we're going to do this, is we're going to gain the grav hammer first. And then replacing that will be a particle cannon for 5, attack to deal 4 damage, and you may destroy a card in hand. Then she is going to use the effect on the Asalium to attack with Nazma's grav hammer to hit the boss for 4, to bring him down to 55. And then that will let Christina return her grav hammer to hand, which will then equip. So all of that will move to the discard pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then next from the turn order deck, we'll find a boss turn. So let's move up to Furion. Nothing out here to resolve, so let's draw a card for Furion. We will find Wrath the Conqueror, 5 health, oh delightful. Activate, any player suffers 1 damage, or the players collectively discard 2 cards. If Furion is level 2 or higher, do both. Now, one thing to note is that even though Furion is out of cards now, he won't actually level up until he goes to draw a card. So we're all clear on that for the time being. Anyway, next card up from the turn order deck we will find Player 1. So let's move down to Nazma. Since Christina used Nazma's grav hammer, we've got a molecular edge and a blaster to equip. And then we've got 3 fuel to buy with, which I think is going to be a heliosphere. And then replacing that will be a Hyperion anomaly for 3 energy. Gain 2, but if you have your maximum number of slots, gain 3 instead. Power cores will all move to the discard pile. We'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then last card in the turn order deck is player 2. So let's move over to Christina. I just got some new lights that I'm playing around with on the table as well, in addition to my normal lighting, something for this end of the table. Anyway, that ramble aside, we're going to use the grav hammer to hit Wrath for 4, since I don't feel like getting hit with 1 damage and having to discard 2 cards as a team is a good idea. Unfortunately, it only gives me a blaster back because that's all I've got in Christina's discard pile, but even that's probably a good thing right now. Then we've got 4 energy to buy with, but I've got 2 blasters that I can prepare. 4 energy will be a mag field. And then replacing that will be an infinitum core for 6 energy. Gain 3, and when you gain a tech this turn, place it into your hand. Okay, so Christina will move all of her power cores over to the discard pile. Then we'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's probably something we can work with. So let's move back up top to see how the board's changed. Not much change right now. Christina's down at 8 health as well, after having to take the last attack card. Karis is at 25 health as well, so we have to keep an eye on that. Moving up to Furion. Furion's down to 55 health. Wrath is at 1, but Furion is about to level up. Next time he goes to draw a card, he won't be able to, so he will level up. I want to be able to take Wrath out before Furion levels up. But let's see what the turn order deck has to say. Both of our ladies have firepower prepared, more than enough to take Wrath out, so let's see what happens here. Alright, coming out of the turn order deck first is a boss turn, so we aren't going to get our wish on that. Now let's move down to Furion and go into the boss turn. Now that the boss deck is empty, the boss does have remaining level up tokens, so we find level 2, and we're going to place that in play. So instant minions in play gain 4 additional health, so Wrath goes up to 5, and his maximum health would go up as well, which that is a problem. Actually, minions have no maximum health, so he goes back up to 5, which is very unfortunate. Okay, resolve any instant, which we did that. Then we shuffle all the boss cards in the discard pile to form a new boss deck, so we're going to shuffle everything in Furion's discard pile. Oh wait, so we actually... Okay, I stand corrected on how this works. So we actually resolve the... So we actually do resolve the boss... The main phase for the boss's turn first. So... Right. There was no level up token when the turn started, so the activate would happen, which means any player suffers 1 damage, or the players collectively discard 2 cards. I'll have Nazma suffer the damage there. So now we shuffle up. At least that's the way I'm reading the sequence of play. Alright, so the card from Furion's deck coming out now. Thermion Barricade. Increase the artillery track by 1. Any player suffers damage equal to the current value of the artillery track. If Furion is level 2, destroy this card. Ouch. So the artillery track goes up to 3. Any player suffers 3 damage. Owie. Let's have Christina eat that one. That's going to bring her down to 5, though. Fortunately, Furion being level 2 will cause him to destroy this card. So now that we're at the end of the boss turn, now we get the artillery track. So we draw and resolve the top card of the artillery deck. So the artillery we're getting hit with is Starless Siege Engine. The homeworld suffers 4 damage. So that'll bring Karis down to 21. And then we reduce the artillery track by 3. So that's back down to 0, thankfully. Ouch. Well, now hopefully we can get 3 player turns in before Wrath gets another turn in. Next up we find player 1. So let's move down to Nazma. We'll use both of our weapons to hit Wrath for another 2 to bring him down to 3. I'll leave the molecular energy out once again just to remind me that I've got an extra energy. And then we've got 3 more for a total of 4. And I'll prepare a repulsor and a blaster. So with 4 energy, I think we're going to grab a phase shield for 3. So it's technically going to stack like that, and then replacing the phase shield is another phase shield. Right, so those go to the discard pile. The power cores follow them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then the next card from the turn order deck is player 1. So good thing we're right here with Nazma. We'll use the repulsor and the blaster. The repulsor will go first. Wrath will go bye-bye. The homeworld will gain a health to bring it up to 22. That can go in there. And we'll prepare a grav hammer. And we can either have 5 to buy with or 3 and destroy the heliosphere to gain a weapon that costs 5 or less. And I believe destroy, I've always ruled destroy as put it out of the game. So let me just look at that real quick. Permanently removed from the game. Okay. Alright, so what costs 5 or less? Another phase shield and a particle cannon. That actually might be worth it to gain a particle cannon. So yeah, I think I am going to destroy the heliosphere to get a particle cannon. We need to get some firepower here. And the next card up is another particle cannon. And then I'll have Nazma gain another slot since we're picking up more weapons. Then we draw as many cards as we can. Flip the discard pile. 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then next card from the turn order deck will be player 2. So let's move over to Christina. We're going to point both blasters at Furion for 2 damage to bring him down to 53. And then looking at Christina's hand, we've got we've got 2 energy, 3, and I may attack with any player's weapon, but I'm not going to. 4, 6, and any player powers up. So Christina will power up. And then for 6, I'm going to grab the infinitum core, and then replacing that in the supply will be an antimatter current for 5. Gain 3 ether, or gain 3 energy. I just said ether. You may destroy the top card of any supply deck. Okay, so if there's something we don't like, we can cycle that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then next card from the turn order deck is player 2. So good thing we're right here with Christina. We're going to prepare a grav hammer. We're going to equip a grav hammer. And we've got 5 to buy with. And if I gain a weapon this turn, I can put it on top of an ally's deck. I think we're going to pick up a... Are we gaining a weapon here? Oh, we actually used one of these phase shields, so the homeworld should have powered up. Let's see. If we gain a weapon, we may put it on top of an ally's deck. Do we want to do that is the question. I'm looking at that particle cannon potentially, but I think what we're going to do instead, we've got 6. I think instead we're going to gain a slot, power up, and then a power core will be discarded anyway. And we'll draw up. Okay. And then we know what this card is exactly. We know it's a boss turns. Let's move up to Furion. We do have a level token to activate, so we increase the artillery track by 1. No minions in play to deal with, so coming out next will be a Titan mounted cannon. So the homeworld will suffer another 4 damage to bring it down to 18. That's not great, but we are through the round again. So let's move back up top to see how the board state's changed. Nazma and Christina both have 3 slots. Nazma is at 7 health, Christina is at 5 after taking after getting hit with that barricade earlier. Barricade. Christina, they both have 3 slots. Christina's also got 3 power toward her special ability. That could be very powerful to use. Karis is at 18 health, though, so we do need to be somewhat mindful of that. Furion is at level 2 with plenty of cards in his deck right now, but nothing going on the board right now. So hopefully we can put some damage on Furion without getting rocked ourselves. But let's see what we've got coming out of the turn order deck. And the artillery track is at 1, by the way, so we do have that small problem to deal with. Next up out of the turn order deck we have a boss turn, Joy. So let's move up to Furion. The artillery track goes up to 2, and then Furion will draw. Titan Barrage, another strike card. The player with the most slots suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. I think that's going to be Nazma, because they're both tied for 3 slots, and discards a card in hand. That's going to be a power core, and then we increase the artillery track by 1. And then since we are at the end of the boss turn, we do have another artillery card coming out, so we will find Frostbiter. Any player discards a card from their hand and suffers 1 damage. Yowza! I think that one's going to be... I think we can probably have Christina take that one a little better. Yes, she will take that one, and she'll discard a blaster. It's not great, but it's better than the other solution. Next up we find player 1. So let's move down to Nazma. Nazma will hit Furion in the face, I guess, with the grab hammer for 4 damage to bring it down to 49. And technically we could return a weapon from discard pile, but she doesn't have a weapon in her discard pile. She will, however, have 3 weapons ready to go. She's got a Molecular Edge, a Blaster, and a Phase Shield. And then we'll discard a Power Core that isn't doing anything for her with 1 energy. I was about to say Ether again. Okay. And the next card in the turn order deck will be player 1. Good thing we're right here with Nazma. We'll start off by hitting Furion with a Phase Shield for 2 to bring it down to 47. Actually, we're dealing all of the damage to Furion, so that's going to be another 4 damage to bring Furion down to 45. And I've got an Ether to spend. We'll prepare 3 weapons again. And then I've got 3 to buy with, which I think is going to be her last slot. So everything is going to go like so. 1, 2, 3. That should be at 2 right now. 4, 5. Okay. And then next up we will find player 2. So let's move over to Christina. Before I jump into Christina's turn, I do want to share a little bit of a musing I've been having as I've been playing through this game. I think coming into this with a lot of history with Aeon's End is very helpful because I feel like coming into it with that Aeon's End knowledge is helping me pick this game up very quickly. And I'll comment that I'm enjoying it a lot. And I think, again, a lot of it is just coming from that Aeon's End world and liking how the market is a little bit more variable in how it's set up. And there are a few different bosses as well in the base game, but I definitely will be picking up more of this game. Anyway, I'm rambling now. So Christina will also hit Furion in the face with a grav hammer for another 4 damage. Bring it down to 41. And then a blaster will be coming back to hand, which she'll immediately equip. We'll equip a second blaster, and we've got 5 to buy with, and the Infinitum Core gives us a tech in hand if we gain it, which I think we will. We'll gain the Oracle Hub, which will go straight to hand. And then replacing that will be a Quantum Hack for 7. Suffer 1 damage to defeat a minion, or any ally draws 2 cards. And then for the Oracle Hub, the Homeworld powers up, which will bring it to 3, and any player may destroy a card in hand. Nobody is going to destroy a card in hand. And I think Christina is going to activate the Homeworld's ability to deal 4 damage, then deal 2 damage, so we can spread that out as we need to. But for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to point all 6 of that damage at Furion's face again. So Furion's down to 35. So we've cut, actually I haven't quite cut its health in half yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the end of Christina's turn, by the way. Okay, next card up is player 2. So it's a good thing we're right here with Christina. 2 more blasters to Furion's face to bring it down to 33. Then okay. Alright, so we've got a mag field. Next time we gain a weapon this turn, we may place it on top of an ally's deck for 2. 4 with the Cosmic Particulate, and any player powers up. 5, 6, 7, and I may attack with any player's weapon. If Nazma had a grav hammer prepared, I'd be a lot warmer to doing that. Unfortunately, I am 1 short of getting the... Actually, you know what? You know what we could do here? We could go 3 for a slot, 2 for her last 2 power-ups, and then activate that to gain... The only thing I don't like about doing it that way, though, is Nazma's not getting to that Echo Ray until her next run through the turn order deck, which might still be worth it, actually. But I think we will... I'm not gonna use the Assalium to attack with any player's weapon. You know what, let's go ahead and activate her ability. So an ally gains the top weapon from any supply deck. We'll give her the Echo Ray for 8. And then replacing that will be a Warp Thrower for 7. Attack, deal 5 damage, and each ally draws a card. Then we'll stack that like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then just to remove any suspense. Yep, it's a boss turn, so let's move up to Furion. The level token increases the artillery track up to 1. No minions in play. So the next card out of Furion's deck is an Unrelenting Onslaught. The homeworld suffers 3 damage and increase the artillery track by 1. Your artillery track is up to 2. Karis is down. Come on, focus. To 15. And we are starting to lose control of this game fairly quickly. But let's move back up top to see how the board's changed. Nazma's at 5 health, Christina's at 4. They're both maxed out on slots now, and Nazma's got an Echo Ray on top of her deck along with 3 weapons equipped and ready to go. As for Furion's at 33 health, but he's at level 2. He's got, looks like, 3 cards left in his deck. So he's going to level up to level 3. Hopefully we can take him out before he starts doing a lot of catastrophic things at level 3. Anyway, let's give the turn order deck a shuffle. And we'll see what we're doing here. Hopefully we're going to get a couple turns in before Furion starts to go. First up. So of course we start off with a boss turn. Let's move up to Furion. The level token increases the artillery track to 3, so we are going to be getting hit with artillery at the end of this turn. Next, and the next card from the boss's deck is a fire support specialist. Oh joy. Activate, increase the artillery track by 1, and if Furion is level 3, which he's not, any player suffers 3 damage. So he's got 10 health. That's a huge problem. 6 and 4 is 10. And then we are getting hit with artillery here, so let's see what happens here. We find another Starless Siege Engine. The homeworld suffers 4 damage. So Karis is down to 11. Which is not a great spot for us to be in right now. Next up out of the turn order deck we find Player 2, so let's move down to Christina. Unfortunately, Christina isn't doing much this turn. What she will do is she'll equip a Grav Hammer. Then she's got a total of 6 energy to spend. And when we gain a tech this turn, we place it directly into hand. But unfortunately, our only tech out right now costs 7. So we're not doing anything with that. What we are doing, though, is I think we're going to buy a Particle Cannon because we need more firepower, and then a Power Core will be discarded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Next out of the turn order deck is player 1, so let's move over to Nazma. Unfortunately, we do need to pull damage away from Furion to deal with this to deal with this fire support specialist. I guess the question is, do we? Because I don't want to get into the problem is I don't want to get into a situation where we get this fire support specialist down to 1 and then he heals 4 health. That was a nasty surprise we got from Wrath earlier. But I don't think we have the time to care right now. So I think we are going to I think we are going to have to pull damage, unfortunately. So we'll use the Particle Cannon to hit the Fire Support Specialist for 4. The Repulsor to hit it for another 2. And the Homeworld will gain 1 health to go up to 12. And then a Blaster to hit it for another 1 to bring it down to 3. And then the Particle Cannon does let us destroy a card in hand, which will bin a Power Core. We'll prepare a Grav Hammer. And we've got 3 to buy with. I have to replace our mid-cost weapons, so we will find Peacekeeper for 6. At attack, deal 5 damage. If this defeats a minion, any player powers up and gains 1 health. For 3 ether, I think we're going to grab a Hyperion Anomaly. Next card up will be a Nebula Wave for 3. Gain 2 energy, and you may destroy a fuel in hand. Alright, so that gives Nazma the Echo Ray. Yep. Alright, look at the rest of her hand. Okay, I don't hate that. Next card from the turn order deck will be Player 1. So good thing we're right here with Nazma. We'll use the Grav Hammer to finish off the Fire Support Specialist. That way we get rid of that. Then, which will let me pull the Particle Cannon back to hand. Then we'll prepare all of... Actually, do I want that back? Yes, I think I do, actually. So we'll prepare the Particle Cannon, the Echo Ray, the Phase Shield, the Molecular Edge, and I've got 1 to buy with, which isn't going to do anything for me. So I'm just going to discard both of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then next card from the turn order deck will be player 2. So let's move over to Christina. We'll hit Furion with the Grav Hammer for another 4 damage to bring it down to 29. And I think we need to be in full race mode, especially now that we've got the minions clear. The Grav Hammer will let me pull the particle cannon back. We'll prepare the particle cannon, the blasters. I'll use the 2 fuel cores to get a power. And the Oracle Hub will let me power up the home world. And any player destroys a card in hand. Which I think Nazma's going to destroy a blaster. So we'll do it like that. Blasters are prepared. These can get discarded. We'll do it like so. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then the last card from the turn order deck, to the shock of not yours truly anyway, is a boss turn. So let's move up to Furion. The artillery track goes up to 1 because of Furion's level token. I'll move, that's Nazma's hand, out of the way. Furion will draw. Improvised weaponry. Increase the artillery track by 2, and any player discards a card in hand that costs 1 energy or more. So we are getting hit with artillery, and we have to discard a card that costs 1 or more. Let me look at what everybody's got in hand. So we are getting hit with artillery. I think we're going to have Christina discard a mag field. We need weapons. Well, actually, I don't know. I think we want weapons immediately. So I think with that in mind, we're going to discard the Cosmic Particulate instead. Then we're getting hit with artillery. So here we find Pinpoint Torpedo. The player with the most slots suffers 2 damage. Once again, we're both tied for most slots. Actually, Nazma's got more health, so she'll take that one. And then the artillery track goes down to 0. I've been bad about remembering that, but I will remember now. With that in mind, let's move back up top to look at how the board's changed. Nazma's at 3 health, Christina's at 4, and we've got all kinds of firepower ready to go. So hopefully they both get a turn before Furion does, because we need to make a Coast is Clear turn hurt Furion. Speaking of Furion, still at level 2, he's at 29 health, nothing going on right now. 1 card left in his deck, so he will be leveling up. But we need to see what happens with the turn order deck. So we'll give that a quick shuffle. And a cut. And hopefully we'll be able to make a turn hurt Furion. So of course, we get a boss turn. How delightful. So let's move up to Furion. Artillery track goes up by 1. Be a not painful strike, be a not painful strike. Rage Knight, oh joy. Activate, the homeworld suffers 2 damage. He comes in with 9 health because remember, the level token gives all minions plus 4 health. Delightful. And now he's going to level up on his next turn. So let's see what happens here. We find player 2. So let's move down to Christina. Now we have a decision to make. Do we just ignore the Rage Knight and try to race Furion? Because Furion's going to level up again on his next draw. And the Rage Knight is going to make the homeworld suffer 2 damage, which might not be that catastrophic, although Karis is only at 12 hit points. So if he was doing more to, if the Rage Knight was doing more to us, I probably would say let's kill him. But since he's not, I think the play here is to race. So I think we're going to use the particle cannon to hit Furion for 4 to bring it down to 25. Then we're going to hit it with 2 more blasters to bring it down to 23. Then, and the particle cannon will let us destroy a card in hand. We'll destroy a power core. Then we can gain, we've got 4 ether, or 4 energy, I should say. And we can attack with a player's weapon. I'll use a molecular edge on the... Actually, will I? You know what? I'm thinking if I want to destroy that power core or not. Because if I use the molecular edge, that gets me 6 and would get Nazma a Peacekeeper. Although she could buy it on her own if I let her keep the molecular edge. Which I think I will do that instead. So I will let her keep the molecular edge. But I will give Nazma a phase shield from the mag field. And then 1 power core will go away. We'll discard everything, flip the deck, and draw back up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we need firepower is what we need right now. So next card out of the turn order deck is player 1. So let's move over to Nazma. The Echo Ray will hit Furion for 7 to bring it down to 16. Then we're going to hit it with the particle cannon for another 4 to bring it down to 12. We might be able to pull this off. Phase shield for another 2 to bring it down to 10. And then a molecular edge for 9 and give Nazma an energy. So I am taking a little bit of a gamble here. Here's what I did with Nazma's hand. We've got 5 to buy with total, and I forgot to replace the low-cost weapons, so here we will find a Lightning Cutlass for 4. Attack, deal 3 damage, and power up. And we've got a repulsor that we're readying as well. So, for 5, I think we'll gain the Lightning Cutlass. And then replacing that in the low-cost weapon supply will be another Lightning Cutlass. All of that will move to the discard pile. 1, 3, 4. Okay, we've got some good stuff coming up. And then in the turn order deck we will find Another boss turn, so let's move up to Furion. The artillery track will go up to 2. Then Karis will take 2 damage to go down to 10. Come on. Down to 10. And then Furion is trying to draw a card, but he will level up. Which means minions in play will gain another 4 health, and when we activate, we increase the artillery track by 2. Okay. So then we will shuffle this. The only good thing coming out of this now is that the boss is gone for both turns in the turn order, in this run through the turn order deck. So we should be able to set up that next turn, that the next run through the turn order deck will be the end of the game. But basically we're going to be hoping for no whammy, no whammy, no whammy here, and then ideally going at least once. Well, we'll see what happens on the last player turn. So card from here is a Titan Barrage. The player with the most slots suffers 2 damage and discards a card in hand. I think Christina will take that one because, once again, we're tied for most slots. So Christina will take 2 and discard a card in hand. She's got a Power Core that she'll discard. All right, Rage Knight does gain another 4 health. That's an instant. So Rage Knight's up to 13, but we are getting hit with yes, we are getting hit with artillery because Titan Barrage increased the artillery track. So here we find Void Charged Mortar. The homeworld suffers 2 damage. Any player suffers 1. That's actually not that catastrophic right now, surprisingly. So 8, and Nazma will suffer the 1 damage. The artillery track will go down to 0. And now we need to set up to win this game on the next run through the turn order deck. So here we will find player 1. So let's move down to Nazma. Repulsor will hit Furion for 2 to bring it down to 7. And Karis up to 9, because the homeworld gains a health. Then we'll prepare a Grav Hammer, a Phase Shield, and we've got 3 to buy with, which will be Power Up, and a Power Core will be discarded. So 1, 2, flip over, 3, 4, 5. Okay, wow. That's some firepower. And then the last card from the turn order deck. Player 2, so let's move over to Christina. Alright, we'll prepare the Grav Hammer. And we've got a total of 5 to buy with. Which will be a Lightning Cutlass of her own. And then we'll find Ballistic Armor, Array for 4. Equip, gain 1 damage. So when we equip it, we get to do that. And then when we attack, we deal 3 damage with it. We'll stack it like that. We weren't gaining attack because it costs 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then let's move back up top to see how the board state's changed. Our situation here is pretty simple. We're at 2 health. If we go twice, if each of us gets a turn before Furion gets a turn, before we get killed, we will win the game. Furion's got the Rage Knight out, and he's at level 3. So if he goes to level up again, we will lose the game on the spot. Rage Knight's doing damage to Karis, but we don't really care about the Rage Knight. We just are in full race mode against Furion here. So let's give this a shuffle and see what's happening here. First turn from the turn order deck is player 1. So let's move down to Nazma. I just had to check an interaction real quick between some of these weapons and how everything's sequenced, but the way I'm going to do this is actually going to work. So I'll start off by attacking with the Phase Shield to hit Furion for 2 damage, and then the homeworld will power up. So Furion's down to 5. and the homeworld is at 2 power. Then I'll use the Grav Hammer to hit Furion for another 4 to bring it down to 1. And then pull a weapon back, which is going to be the Phase Shield, to my hand, since it does technically go to the discard pile right away. Then we're going to prepare way more. We're going to prepare Overkill Firepower is what we're going to do here. And then the other 2 cards aren't going to do anything, so we'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, as long as this is a player card, we will win the game right here. So let's find out what we flip over. Player 2, so let's move over to Christina. I am most definitely in favor of the Nothing Cute plan here, so the Grav Hammer will hit Furion for 4 to bring him down technically to -3, but 0 is as low as we can go. Still, that does the job we want it to. We have won the game. So let's move back up top to wrap this, well, to talk about this game. We're not quite done with the video, but more on that after the wrap-up. That was definitely a close game, but we did manage to pull that one off and send Furion scurrying. I really enjoyed this game, and I think a lot of that comes from having that knowledge of Aeon's End and how deck builders like this work, where you don't shuffle your deck. So coming in with a lot of the familiarity with Aeon's End really helped me pick up this game, I think, lickety-split. Hopefully I didn't make too many mistakes on this game. As always, be nice in the comments section if I did make any mistakes. I did really enjoy this one, and I think it helps. Again, I think it helped that coming in with the Aeon's End knowledge really helped speed up my learning curve in this one. So you'll definitely see more of this game on the channel. I'd love to see a more campaign-focused expansion in this one, but that's another musing for another day. Anyway, we're not quite done with the video yet, though, even though that will do it for this playthrough of Astro Knights, because I've gotten a couple of deliveries in over the last 2 days, and I'm going to go ahead and crack those on the channel. First up on the product unboxing front, we've got a fairly heavy delivery from CLS Games. That's that game workshop down in Georgia that I've picked up a few things from them before. This delivery actually came in yesterday, so we're going to crack this open first and see what we've got in here. Come on, there we go. And then looking at my other 2 deliveries, I shouldn't need the knife, so we can close that. And of course, we're greeted by packing peanuts. How delightful. So we're going to have to pack through the packing peanuts to get to what's actually in here. Good thing I've got my garbage can right here, which is probably going to need to go out by the time I'm all said and done. Okay. I hate packing peanuts. Unfortunately, we're going to be spoiling a little bit of what's in here because I'm guessing how he's got this packed up. So essentially, what we want to do with this is probably unbox the thing that's in the bottom first. But given this box, I'm not going to do that. So we're going to get a little bit of a tip off of what's in here as we start to dig into this box. So I think that's enough to start getting into it. First thing we're greeted by here. Oh boy. Looks like what just fell out is the Aces expansion for Stuka Leader by Danverson Games. Historical aces and expert bomber pilots at your disposal, and we've got some of the chits that have already fallen out punched, so that's going to be kind of annoying. I'll put that off to the side. The next thing we've got in here is a What If expansion. I'll be curious what the What If part is. New campaigns, new targets, new bandits, new air events, new aircraft, and more. I have a feeling some of this is going to be What if Germany won the war and is now going after the United States? We'll start getting some more packing peanuts in, or out of the way, I should say. I made a rhyme. Don't worry, guys. I'll stick to my day job. Poetry is not my strong suit. Anyway, next up we've got an expansion for the Spanish Civil War coming out. Then we've got Eastern Front number 2. Once we see what's all in here, I'll tell you guys about how I end up getting this collection. Then we've got a Mediterranean expansion, once again with some of the chits already starting to punch out, which is a little bit annoying, but no help for that, I don't think. Then we've got Mediterranean number 2, which thankfully doesn't have any of the chits starting to come out. And then hopefully there's nothing else in the bottom of the box, but I don't think there is. Holy crap, this is heavy. Not surprising because there's always so much game in these boxes. But what we've got here is Stuka Leader by DVG, the World War II European Theater Solitaire game, created by Chuck Siegert, of course. Only in the spirit of attack, born in a brave heart, will bring success to any fighter aircraft, no matter how highly developed it may be. Stuka Leader places you in command of a group of German pilots and aircraft in World War II. Your group will include fighter aircraft such as the Me-109 and FW-190. You will also have bombers like Ju-88 and He-111. The star of the show is, of course, the Ju-87 Stuka. Stuka Leader includes campaigns from Poland to the end. In Stuka, you get to bomb London, destroy the BEF British Expeditionary Force at Dunkirk, and defend Berlin with the latest and greatest aircraft, such as the Me-262. As commander of this group, you will face all kinds of ground fire and aerial opponents. You will face everything from the PZL P-11 in Poland to the Spitfire and Hurricane during the Battle of Britain. You also get to face the dangerous Mustang and Thunderbolt in the defense of the fatherland. Face famous bombers such as the B-25 and B-17. French, British, and Polish bombers are also included. Stuka Leader is a solitaire game which you can also play cooperatively. Stuka allows you to try and rewrite history and gain a victory for the fatherland. OKL expects you to exceed expectations. Good grief, this thing is heavy. So how I got this game is I was in the process of starting to order it from my local game store. Then I saw a collection online from BGG with 180, which had all the expansions but one, so I'll have to track that down later. And as I started going through the math, I was like, okay, the base game is going to come out to about 100. I figured the base game is going to come out to about $100. With all the expansions in there from CLS, it was close. It was about 180, closer to 200. So I figured, you know what, save myself from tracking down most of the expansions later and having to pay extra for that. I figured that was probably the better idea, so that's why I did it this way rather than going through my local game store, which I normally try to do. But that's it for that very heavy box. Now let's bring in the other mailers that came in today. These two mailers are much lighter, so we'll go ahead and crack these. These just came in earlier tonight. I'm going to leave those two front lights on as well. So we'll go ahead and crack these open and see what we've got in here. Thankfully, this one's a pull tab. Okay, and first up, we've got the Underworld collection with Kate Beckinsale, all 5 movies. We've got Underworld, Underworld Evolution, Underworld Rise of the Lycans, Underworld Awakening, and Underworld Blood Wars. So it's the ultimate Underworld collection. And then in this mailer, we've got the Tom Cruise version of The Mummy. I do have the Ultimate Mummy collection, the Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, that crew, in here in my collection as well. And I'm not going to try to read the back of that because it's having a hard time coming through. But that will do it for this playthrough of Astro Knights and this product unboxing. Busy week coming up on the channel. Tomorrow night we're going to have Game 3 of the 1991 World Series between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Oakland Athletics. Series is currently tied at a game apiece. Mike Moore will be on the hill for the Athletics against John Smiley for the Pirates. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Black Spire Outpost cookbook with the side roasted Kajaka root. Also Saturday, we're going to have Game 4 of the 91 World Series. Sunday, we're playing Star Wars Outer Rim from Fantasy Flight, and Wednesday next week, we're playing Twilight Inscription. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.